Welcome to the Simple Chess channel, where you get to learn how to play chess the easy way. My name is Sean, and I'll be delighted to teach you how to play chess. I've been teaching for 3 decades now. Chess is fun. I'll assume you're new to chess, so I'll start with the basics. We'll look at the object of the game, the pieces, the values, the way they move and the way they capture. And then we'll look at checkmate and stalemate, and the difference between them. By the end of the first video, you'll be able to play chess. We'll end the first video by looking at how to do checkmate. I'll teach you how to do the 2 basic checkmates in chess, the king and queen checkmate and the 2 hooks checkmate. So by the time we're done here, you'll be playing your first chess game. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So come, let's go. Okay, welcome back. Now let's talk about the object of the game, the pieces, the values, how they move and capture, and then checkmate, and stalemate. The object of the game is to get the king. You want to attack the king in such a way that he has nothing to do. And that's basically called checkmate. Now, the pieces and the values. This is the king. The king has a cross on his head. Most of the chess sets you see, this is the main thing, and this is the way you identify the king. Most of the boards, we have different chess sets, but most of the chess sets, you find the king with this cross on his head, and that's how you identify the king. How does the king move? The king can only go 1 square at a time in any direction. So the king can go up, down, left and right, and on both diagonals. King can only move 1 square at a time. So if the king is meant to go to this square, or this one, or this one, it's going to take it 3 moves, because it has to go 1, 2, and then 3. 1, and the second move, and the third move. If you make 2 moves, black makes a move. Makes another move, black makes another move, and then you make the third move. So the king can only go 1 square at a time in any of these directions. The next piece is the queen. The queen is just like the king. I call the king an old man because he can only go 1 square at a time. And I call the queen a young lady because she does exactly the same thing, but she goes multiple squares at the same time. Unlike the king that goes 1 square, she goes a whole bunch of squares at the same time. But it's basically the same direction, up, down, left, and right, and on both diagonals. So that's how the queen moves. One thing to mention about this is the values. We said the object of the game is to attack the king in such a way that it has nothing to do. So the queen now, her value is 9 pawns. Look at the starting position. You have 8 pawns starting out. The queen is worth 9 of them. So she's worth 1 extra that we don't have. So the queen is worth 9 of those pawns, or 9 points, or 9 chess dollars. So that's the queen. The next piece is the rook, or the castle. The rook works like the plus sign. Up, down, left, and right. Easy, right? The rook is worth 5 of these chess dollars. And another thing to note about this piece is the way they move is the way they capture. They move exactly the way they capture. The only thing is, if I'm going to capture something here, I'll replace that thing with this rook on the square. Now let's go to the bishops. So when we start out, we have 2 bishops, just like this. One is on the dark square and one is on the light square. The same thing for black. 1 bishop on the dark square and 1 bishop on the light square. Now, these bishops are stuck on the squares they start on. They have no other way of getting to a different square. They can't meet. They can only move on the square they start on. So this is the dark squared bishop, and this is a light squared bishop. And they can only go on the diagonals like this. So that's the bishop. And what's the value of the bishop? The bishop is worth 3 of those pawns. So that's the value of the bishop. The next piece in line is the knight. The knight is the trickiest of all the pieces. And the reason is that when we said all the pieces do move, this goes straight, this goes on the diagonals, this goes straight and on the diagonals, and this goes on the diagonals, this goes straight. Now, none of them can move at this point because they've all been blocked in by the pawns. For them to move, the pawn has to give way. Now they can move. But the knight is different. The knight is the only piece that can actually jump over pawns or jump over pieces. So the knight is the piece that jumps. How does the knight jump? That's the tricky thing. The knight jumps in an L shape. It goes 1, 2, and then makes a left or right turn. 1, 2, and then makes a left or right turn. 1, 2, make a left or right turn. 1, 2, and you make a left or right turn. And that's how the knight moves. The way I teach my student is the square is in front of the knight, the one above it, and the one below it. You call that 1. So these are going to be your ones. This is 1, 1, 1, 1. So if you're counting, so this is going to be 1, this is going to be 2, and then you make your left or right turn. 1, 2, you make your left or your right turn. 1, 2, left, right. 1, 2, left, right. Easy, right? Now, what's the value of the knight? The knight is also what? 3 pawns. But we said we want to learn chess. We want to learn how to play, based on chess being studied as a science. So as we go on, the value of the bishop and the knight might, change a little. The bishop might become a little more valuable than the knight, because this is based on science, based on statistics and things that we see that in most games, the bishop ends up being a better piece. And when we use computer to analyze these games, when you give up a bishop for a knight without justifications, you end up losing something and that shows you, the bishop is just being more valuable. And for you to say they're the same in all cases might be misleading. So we'll come to that later on. So for now, let's just assume the pieces. The knight is 3 points, the bishop is 3 points. So how do you remember all of this? Well, I think it's easy. It's easy. Now, for the king has, the king is worth the whole game. For the pieces, they're all odd numbers. None of them is 2 digits. The queen is 9. We don't have a 7. We have a 5, which are the rooks. And then we have 3s, which are the bishops and the knight. And then we have 1s, which are the pawns. So if you know they're odd numbers and there's no 7 and they're all was single digits, then you can just look at, okay, which one is more? Okay, the queen and then the bishop and the knight, the pawns, easy. So now we've talked about the game, the pieces, and the values, the way they move and the way they capture. But before we go on, let's talk about the pawn. The pawn is worth 1 point, as you know, from all the things we've said. The pawn is worth just a pawn, and just a point, and they can only go straight. When we start out the pawn, they can only go straight. This is how they move. So this has been blocked by this, and they can no longer move as long as they're like this, unless something happens. But the way they capture is different. They capture diagonally. So if I play this, for example, the black pawn can capture the white pawn by taking its place and then moving it off the board. So they capture diagonally, but they go straight. If I make a move like this, he can also capture. And I can capture back, because that's how the pawn capture. But if I'm going to move, I can only go straight. Now, there are 2 ways you move. You see, the pawns starting out can go 2 steps at a time, and that's the only time they can do that. So I can go 2 steps here, he goes 1 step, I can go 2 steps, he can go 2 steps now. But once I go 1 step, for example, and let's say place 2 steps, I can no longer go 2 steps. I can just go 1 step. If I try to go 2 steps now, it's not going to happen. But I can only go 1 step. So once you're starting out, you can always go 2 steps. This is the only point you can go 2 steps. Once you leave this out, once you leave from the starting point, then you can no longer go 2 steps. You can only go 1 step. And how do you capture? You capture diagonally, and you can go straight. So that's how the pieces move. That's how the pieces capture and the values. So now we look at check, checkmate, and stalemate, and look at the difference between the two of them. Okay. Okay, let's continue with check. Check basically means your king is under attack. As you can see on the screen, the rook is attacking the king. So when any piece is aiming at the king, it's called a check. And if you're playing a game with your opponent, you need to announce check. You need to let them know, or you need to say check, so he's aware that the king is under attack and he has to do something about it. Because the object of the game is to get the king, attack the king in such a way that it cannot do anything. Whenever the king is under attack, you have to just stop and do something about it. You can't ignore, you can't make another move. You have to do something because it's a check, and that's what we call check in chess. What can you do about it? Now, what you should do about it, we have 3 things you can do about it. The first thing is to capture. Now, this rook is aiming at the king. So this is a check. But black has a bishop somewhere on the board also aiming at the rook. If the bishop goes on the diagonal and captures the rook, the check is gone. And black is no longer in check. Now, this is the best way to get out of check, all things being equal. You know, I say that because, like I said, when you study chess like science, 80% of the time things are normal, but in some cases, things might be a little bit different, you know. So here, capturing gets you out of check. And one thing to note is that when you capture, the check disappears. So capturing is actually the best way to get out of check. Because when you capture, the piece just disappears off the board. You have it in your pocket, your king is safe. And you have, you know, I think the king is much safer. You have a piece in the pocket and you're good. So capturing actually is the best way to get out of the check. The next is protecting. The rook goes there with a check, attacking the king. You might want to shield your king from attack. When the bishop moves there, shielding the king from the rook's attack, this is called protect. Protecting is protecting is the second best way to get out of check, because if you can actually capture, then why would you just protect? Just capture. Or if you cannot capture, in some cases, you might want to protect. And when you put any piece to shield your king from any kind of attack, then you're protecting the king. And that's the second best way to get out of the check. The third way is running away or moving away. Your king is under attack and you just step out of the line. The king is no longer under attack, so the king is no longer in check. Or you could have gone backwards. It doesn't matter. As long as you step out of attack and you're no longer in check. So that is check, and those are the 3 ways you get out of check. It's very simple: capture, protect, and run away. If you watch the chess kid video, they have a name for this. They call it CPR, like the regular CPR you revive somebody that is drowning or somebody that collapses and just collapse. So capture, protect, and run away, these are the ways you get out of a regular check. Now, when you cannot do any of this, when your king is under attack and you cannot capture, you cannot protect, and you cannot run away, then it's a checkmate. The game is over. This is a case. The queen is attacking the king. The queen is aiming at the king. The king cannot get out because the queen covers all the squares the king is about to use. And the pawn has been blocked by the king. The pawn can move backwards. They can only go forward. This pawn is blocked by the king. The king cannot move out. The king is under attack. It's a check. We cannot do CPR. We cannot capture. We cannot protect, and we cannot run away. So this is basically checkmate. This is what a checkmate looks like. When your king is under attack and you cannot attack, you cannot capture, you cannot protect, and you can run away. That's checkmate in chess. Now, what is stalemate? Now, stalemate is a kind of drawing chess, and this is what happens in a stalemate. I think yes, this one. Okay, so here, let's assume it was white to move. It's black to move. No, white to move. So white king comes here, right? And then it's black to move. So the black queen came here. So the black king, the white, this is just an example. So the white king goes back into the corner, and the white queen comes here. Now it's white's turn to move. It is white's turn to move in this position, but the white king cannot move because the queen is aiming at other squares it could use. So the white king cannot move. It is white's turn, but white has nothing to do. So it's a stalemate. In a stalemate, three things happen. The first thing is it is your move, like it is white's move in this position. The second thing is the king is safe. The king is not under any kind of attack. And the third thing is there's nothing to do on the board. You can't move your king. You can't move any of your pieces. There's nothing else to move. You might have pieces on the board, but they're stuck. They can't move. As long as they cannot move, it is a stalemate. If you can make any Lego move on the board, then it's not a stalemate. As long as you can find any kind of move on the board, it's not a stalemate. When a stalemate happens, you have absolutely no move on the board, and your king is safe, and it is your turn. So that is basically what stalemate is. So the next thing now is I'm going to teach you how to do the two basic checkmates in chess, the king and queen checkmate and the two checkmate. And you should be good by then to start the game of chess. So I'll be back in 1 minute. So we have the two rooks, a king against the king. When this happens, this normally happens at the end of the game when you have extra pieces and you're trying to win the game. The reason you need to know how to do this is because, first of all, you need to know how to win the game. And that is the first thing. If you're playing a game with a friend right now and you don't know how to win, then I don't know what the point is because you don't know how to win. Capturing all the pieces doesn't mean you've won the game. We end the chess game by doing checkmate, and you have to be able to do checkmate. And these are the basic ones. They only make you understand how the pieces move and how you use them in the end game. Now, the rooks, we said they go straight. They walk like the plus sign, up, down, left, and right. So all we have to do is build a kind of bridge. Like when we're trying to trap something, checkmate means attacking the king such that he has nowhere to go. And for us to do that, we have to kind of push him to the corner or push him all the way to the back. We start that process by limiting the space he has. As you can see, when I play this move, now the king cannot pass this line. There's like an invisible wall built on the fourth row here, fourth line. We're gonna get to that. So the king cannot pass this line. All he has is this line, and this line, and this line. from now on is banned from moving to the forefront. Why? Because we have a rook on the forefront. Now, let's say the king goes to the side and tries to attack it. Now, because this guy is building a wall, an invisible wall here, the king cannot cross this line. And we know rooks work like a plus sign. They move straight, up and down. So all we have to do is just aim at this king again. Now we're aiming at it again. This rook is stopping it from moving forward. So it has to go backwards. See, it has to go backwards because he can't move forward. This rook is aiming at all the line. This one is aiming at all of this line. So it has to go backwards. Now that it's gone backwards, this rook on the side of the board, this guy is the one building the new wall that it cannot cross. This is the new wall closest to the king that it cannot cross. So we're not going to move this guy. We're only going to move the other guy that is farthest away from the king. So we go here with a check. Now that we're attacking the king again, right? The king goes, and this is the key part. This is the most important part. And this is the only trouble you may have doing this. The king might try to attack you. So the king is attacking the rook now. So now we can't continue attacking the king because the king is aiming at us now. We have to do something we would normally do whenever he aims at us. Move away as far as you can. But as you can see, when I move away, I'm not blocking the other rook because they're doing different jobs. This guy blocks a line, and then this guy blocks the next line. So if I put them on the same row, they can't do that kind of job. So they need to be on different lines to be able to walk like a bicycle. That's what I call, like, these are pedals, like when you're riding a bicycle. So let's say the king now moves backwards. This guy is the one building the invisible wall here, right here, that the king can't cross. So this guy is the one to move all the way down with a check. King has to move down. Now this guy goes down with a checkmate. So this is super easy. See, very easy. So we just go, if I go all the way back, see, we could do different ways. We could go, I could start with this one now. It doesn't matter. Now I have a wall here. The king cannot pass this wall. So if you move there to come attack me, then I attack it again with a different one. He can't cross there because of this imaginary invisible wall. So he has to go backwards. Now I'm going to attack it again because this guy is now building the invisible wall. Now the king goes backwards, but now the king is attacking me. So I cannot just ignore. I have to move away as far as I can. I move all the way, but I'm not blocking the other guy who's also working on his own lines, right? So the king comes back, we go down with a check, not blocking this. This guy is doing a wonderful job here, stopping the king from moving forward. This guy's attacking the king again. The king has to go backwards. So this guy is stopping the king from moving forward. And now we go all the way down, and this guy gets checkmate. So this is how to do the two checkmate, one of the basic checkmates in chess. Every single chess player needs to know how to do this. And then we look at the king and queen checkmate in just one. Yes. So the king and queen checkmate is what we have on the board. You have a king and a queen, and you're trying to do checkmate against an opponent king. Now, why is this so important? This is very important because the king is the most powerful piece. Most of the time when you have a pawn, you're still going to get to things like promotion and stuff. You have a pawn, your pawn turns into a queen, you should be able to win the game. So this is like the basic of all the checkmates that every single player needs to do, because you might have a queen, and when you do, you expected to win the game. At 9 points clear, you should be able to win the game. So how do you win the game with the queen? It's easy. Now let me give an example. Look at this. Now you see, I have a knight on the board. I'm only trying to use this to explain things to you. This knight is actually attacking the king. And this is a check, right? The knight could have been here attacking the king. The knight could have been here attacking the king. The knight could have been here attacking the king, right? could have been here attacking the king. It doesn't matter, or here, right? But this knight is attacking the king, right? That's what I want you to know. The knight just attacking, just giving a check. That's all I want you to know. Once you notice this knight attacking the king, now we go to the king and queen checkmate. Now, when we put the queen here, what is similar to what we just did? As you can see, the queen is just standing where the knight was a minute ago. But the queen is not aiming at the king. You don't have to do that. You don't have to worry about aiming at the king. All you want to do is use the knight shadow. Remember the knight was, when the knight was like this, the knight was attacking the king, right? Good, but you don't have a queen. I mean, you don't have a knight, you have a queen. Then the queen wants to use the knight shadow. The queen just wants to stand and knights jump away from the king. You're not attacking it. You just want to use the knight shadow. Just stand and knights jump away from it. The reason for this is when you do this, you see, you've kind of created a box. And the king cannot get out of this box. So once you get to this position, this is the first thing you want to aim at. Get to this position, make sure your king, your queen is a knight to jump away. And then you start to Simon, you start, well, we call it Simon says, but you just follow the king. Whatever he does, you do exactly the same thing. So he goes down one step, you go down one step. He slides up to the left one step, we slide up to the left one step. He slides down to the left one step, we go down one step. He goes back one step, we go back one step. He goes up one step, we go up one step. He goes up one step, we go up one step. He goes down one step, we go down one step. Down one step, down one step. Now he gets to the edge of the board. When he touches the corner, we need to stop. We need to stop following him, because if we follow him one more time, this is going to be stalemate. If the queen gets here, the king cannot go 1, 2, or 3, because the queen is going to be stopping all that. So when the king gets to the edge of the board, that is our clue to stop following the king, and we just need to bring our king up and over. We want to bring our king right across from this king, and the checkmate is going to be on the square. This black king has nowhere to go. He's going to keep going back and forth, because these are the only 2 squares he had. As you can see, we never attacked it. We never gave a simple check. All we did was stood a nice jump away from the king, and we followed him. We kept doing all the things he did. And now he only has 2 steps, and we're about to give checkmate. So we start bringing the king. He goes back and forth. We bring the king. He goes back and forth. Bring the king back and forth. Bring the king back and forth. Bring the king. Now the king is close enough. When he comes down, our checkmate is going to be on this square. One thing to note is, if you allow the king to get to the corner before you stop following him, your checkmate is always going to be on G7 or G2 or B2 or B7. That's why it's good to allow the king to get to the corner, and then you stop following him. You bring your king over and you do your checkmate. Let me go away real quick. So this time I'm going to go a different route. So we have a king. We want to do checkmate. I'm going to go all the way down here. See, as you can see, this is still a nice jump away. The last time I came here, which was a nice jump away, this is still a nice jump away. It doesn't matter. So let's assume the king goes this way. I follow it. He slides down. I slide down. He slides down. I slide down. He slides back. I slide back. He goes back. I go back. He slides down. I slide down. He goes back. I go back. He moves back. I move back. Gets to the edge of the board. Now I have to stop. Now it's time to bring my king. So I start bringing my king. He goes back and forth. Bring my king back and forth. Bring my king back and forth. Bring my king back and forth. Bring my king. Now my king is close enough, and I have my checkmate. Easy. Okay, so these are the basic checkmates in chess. So far, we've looked at the pieces. Looked at the object of the game, pieces, the values, how they move, how they capture. We've looked at checkmate, and stalemate. Now we've learned how to do the 2 basic checkmates in chess. This is awesome. So all you have to do now is you have to go try all of these things out. Play as many games as you can. Use as many concepts as you can. Without practice, you cannot really achieve anything. Chess is simple. It's just, whatever you put in is what you get out. You can't get better at what you don't do or what you don't practice. So you have to play as much games as you can. The more games you play at this stage, the better you get. There's something called board vision. You need to be able to see how the pieces move on the diagonals, on the straight line, and that just comes by playing a lot of games. So just try to play as many games as you can, and you'll be on the path to becoming a very good chess player. Now, in the next video, I'll be talking about the basics. Before we move forward, you need to understand all the basics. I'll talk about the board, right? I'll talk about the lines, the files, the ranks, the diagonals. I'll talk about pieces, how we trap pieces, what are trapping pieces, what are hanging pieces. I'll talk about concepts like casting. These are all the basic stuff that you need to understand before we can actually start talking about how we start the game, right? So I'll see you in the next video. Have a lovely, lovely day. And please stop playing chess. It's a lot of fun. Bye.